Welcome, my friends. Here we are on a beautiful day today. What do you think, Mike? Huh?
Excellent. Can't beat this weather.
No, it's perfect weather. And today's guest is the Alderman from Ward 6, Mike Raymond. Mike has been around up there now. Been around the horn a few times up there now, huh?
Yep.
Last time we were here, maybe a year or so, 2 years ago, we were talking about the mountain. And it's still there, though. It's lurking in the background, you think?
Yes, it is, and it's still, it's still going on. I mean, we're promised that the housing court will listen to the arguments after Labor Day. So now we'll put off until after Labor Day.
Yeah.
And after Labor Day, we'll either get a decision on a hearing or we'll get the comments from the housing court. So, and then we'll move on to the next step.
Yeah, and that'll probably be it, because it'll depend on how good the economy is and how much money people want to make. Because we just sat now through a slow period, but things are picking up a little bit now, you know. Maybe
yes,
once they start looking at, same as the library, I mean, not the library, the armory. See, now we sat there all those years, we complaining and doing all that stuff, and the guy said, well, no, as soon as he figures he can make $1, he's right back again, you know.
Right.
But I mean, that's the American way. So what's going on in North Woburn, Michael?
Well, you know, we have right now at least 9 major projects in the works.
Nine
major projects in the, all the way from, for example, 1071 Main Street. We have the condominiums at St. Anthony's, the townhouses they're building.
Yeah.
CVS isn't finished. We have Dave & Buster's going in.
Dave & Buster's, boy, that's going to be something, huh?
That's going to be phenomenal. But
I don't know for who, but not for me. But I mean, I'll go there because I'm just interested to see that Dave & Buster's is going to be right on 128, right on 128.
Correct.
A million cars go by there a day.
Right. And we have, and in addition to that, there'll be a new restaurant opening up across the street where the Sea Dog was.
Yeah, Sea Dog was.
Yeah, they're opening up. Other things that are happening in North Woburn, there's some smaller developments. Over near the Ultra Vesta, there's a 4-unit townhouse unit going in over there. And as you come into North Woburn now, you notice the streets have been paved and it's cleaned up a little bit, and it's really, it's completely changed. If you add up the dollars that have been spent and will be spent, say the past year and then over the next year, you're looking at over $100 million in development just in North Woburn.
In a short period.
In a short period of time.
Yeah, right. That's right.
So you say, yeah, is the economy improving? I believe it is. I believe it is. You mentioned that the economy is improving, that, you know, they'll come back. For example, the Armory. The Armory came back, and now they're going to be building the Armory. And, you know, there's a couple of the projects that were on the books that they're looking at, that, you know, reviewing and then coming back and saying, hey, now's the time to do it. For example, and we just talked about this prior to tonight, the assisted living that's on Salem Street is the same plan that they wanted to do at St. Anthony's.
That's right.
And the reason it wasn't done at St. Anthony's, they didn't have the money at the time. Now that the money's available, they came back with the same plan. Yeah. So, you know, it's just, like you said, it's a little better.
It's just, yeah, all it is, follow the money. The guy said, follow the money, you see what happens. As long as you can own a piece of property and afford to keep it for a long period of time, you just wait till the time is right, and then you just jump right in and say, let's go.
And North Woburn, you know, we have the most available property left in Woburn. I mean, there are tracts of land in other wards, but there's still quite a bit of land in North Woburn that's developable. You know,
really, where is it? It's a big, it's got to be. You can't count the rock pile there. You know what I mean? What do you?
Well, I'll give you right now. I'll give you 40 acres. There's 40 acres between the Nelco property. Applejack Realty owns a piece. John Devine owns a piece. In that property right there, there's 40 acres. Now, is it developable? Yes. As soon as that bridge is built, they'll be able to build on that side and walk across the bridge to Anderson.
Okay. Because it's pretty wet there too. Yeah. The train went, that's right all on the train, right? On the train tracks?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of, yeah, well, I didn't think there was that much land there.
In fact, Nelco just cleared their whole land. They took down their buildings, everything is gone, and they sold the land. I'm meeting with the builder this week to see what does he want to do with the Nelco property.
Really?
And, you know, I'll put that up in my newsletter as soon as I find out. But the one thing, and I'm glad you brought this up, the one thing that seemed to work over the past 10 years, prior to any development or any piece going in, we've had neighborhood meetings. We had them on CVS, we had them on St. Anthony's,
Yep.
we had them on Dave & Buster's. In fact, Dave & Buster's showed up with menus at our neighborhood meeting to show us what they were going to have for food. And the people get to weigh in on exactly what's going to happen. Now, the Nelco property, same thing, and I'm going to impress upon the developers tomorrow night when I meet with them that, yes, you know, I want to listen to what you want to do, but I also want you to talk to the people prior to submitting your plans. If you talk to the people prior to submitting your plans, give them input into the project itself, you know, it'll make them partnering in the project.
Yeah, right.
Did it work? Did it work for everybody? No.
No.
Doesn't work for 100%. But it worked for a lot of people. I remember when CVS was a bad name, you know, for that corner. You know, and then we met with the residents. We took at least 4 or 5 different meetings. We ironed it out. We made sure the one-ways were right. We made sure where they were going to put it and what it was going to look like and everything. We had really a good say in it. And today it looks good. And like I said, it's an attraction. People that are moving into the condos love the idea that there's a CVS up the street.
Right there,
you
yeah.
know? So,
I've heard that too. I've actually heard
Yeah.
that because, like you said before, all the reasons why you can tell the story about stopping at Melanson's, Seaver's, what do they call that place anyway? What's the name? Is there a name to it?
there is.
Yeah,
I call
there
it
is.
St.
We
Anthony's
forgot.
Project. Yeah.
I just always say it's Melanson's
I'm
building
sorry.
condos up in North Woburn.
Yeah, they don't
I
like to hear that.
Some name
Yeah.
of some fancy name of the joint. But like you said, I mean, I think the whole thing to me, from like the canal part of it, I think the canal part of it is probably the thing that is one of the best selling points if they get to do what they think they can do.
10 years ago when I was running for alderman for the first time, and I was having neighborhood meetings and I was out on a meet and greet, and then somebody approached me, it wasn't the church, but it was a real estate agent saying, they're going to be selling a piece of the land. This is a short story. They're going to sell a piece of the land at St. Anthony's and they're going to be using the money to build a house or, you know, fund the church or whatever.
Right.
So I called the church and asked them, and I had a meeting with the church just after I was elected alderman in 2000, whatever year it was. And then they said, this is what we want to do. And I said, okay, let's see what else we can do here. All right. What else can we get developed? And then coincidentally, that's when the basketball nets were put in. That's when the pool was upgraded. That's when the field was upgraded. That's when CVS was talking. But what I did is I laid out that plan, and we had a series of neighborhood meetings to say, this is what's going to happen. But the icing on the cake was the canal itself. I met a number of times with the Middlesex Canal Commission, and basically what they want to do is put a bikeway and walkway around the canal with 2 English-style bridges, and at the beginning of 128 at the gateway, they want to put an English garden type of thing without not destroying any of the trees or any of the monuments that are there. They want to do an English garden out in front. I thought it was a great idea then. I still think it's a great idea.
I think it is too.
But they ran into some roadblocks, and Ed, they're going to, in fact, I met with the Middlesex Canal Commission yesterday at a dedication for the Count Rumford House. They had a contingency of the Canal Commission was there, and I got to talk to them, and you know, and to tell them that the support is still there, and really, what they plan on doing to Canal will be like the icing on the cake, just like you said, from you know, from the Stop and Shop all the way up to School Street. It'll be really, you know, well developed. It'll be nice. It'll be a head turner. That's what we called it right from the beginning.
Because it'll be that much more wonderful for the people who are there. You know what I mean? The people in the Alzheimer's or forgetfulness situation in that building, And then you're gonna have most of the people in those condos, like, come from, they probably already spent their 10 years in Florida and now come back from Florida to just finish
Yeah,
off
but you know
their-
what I want? I want people in North Woburn to use it. On the CVS side, right, the plan is to put 50 parking spaces on that side for city parking, because we own the land, the city owns the land.
Yep.
So if we can put the 50 parking places, the field could use the parking places, and that'll be a gateway to the bridge that goes across the thing. Then if
So
we get
where's,
somebody.
now you're talking about across the street from the socially concerned? On that side?
No, not that far down.
Not that far down?
No, sir. No, it's on, as you drive in the parking lot to Furlow Park, on the left between the park and CVS, that's city land right in there.
Where the transmission place was, where the Quonset
Yes,
hut was?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a big chunk of city land
Yeah.
right there, enough, according to the plan, for 50 cars.
Really?
Yep, yep, and that's where we'll park the cars.
And then you could just jump up and put your bike down
Absolutely.
and ride right back
And if we
forth.
put benches there, and the middle, part of the plan is to put the benches, but to put educational placards, you know, explaining what the canal is and how it was used and different things, so people could see it. And to put indirect lighting along the pathway, so the indirect lighting won't shine in on the houses, it'll shine, you know, it'll be a lighted walkway and bikeway. So it's an excellent plan. I mean, they're ready to go once they get the once they get their waivers on the problems that they have. They're going for waivers. If they get the waivers, they're as ready to go as we would be on the bridge. They'll have to set up their funding, but they're already looking at 3 different funding sources for the canal. And another thing too, it's not going to cost the city anything.
Nothing.
No, sir. It's covered 100% by the Middlesex Canal Commission. So all the restoration and everything, the bridges, the garden, the whole bit.
The Middlesex Canal Commission now, is that something that goes all the way for the whole
Yeah, they're
canal?
responsible, right, they're responsible for, I believe it's 25 miles of canal.
Really,
And,
huh?
yeah, their offices and museum, I believe, are in Billerica. And they have a museum and they have offices and they have offices. And they're a state, they were
Some kind of a
founded.
quasi-government
Yeah,
situation?
yeah.
Really?
And there's people from, on the Middlesex Canal Commission, there are people from the House and the Senate, I believe, are directly on the commission itself. So that, you know, and people from each town that is. In fact, I believe that Len Berman, who's a big-time supporter of the Count Rumford House, is our agent on the Middlesex Canal Commission.
Really?
Yes, sir.
Wow.
So,
So that whole place, well, that'll probably take a few years to get that all straightened out. But that whole situation on that side of Main Street, from the Rotary all the way up to Merrimack Street or School Street, whichever it is, I can never remember which the beginning part is. But I mean, it's going to be all changed. It's changed now.
yes,
It's
sir.
really
It's all
something.
changed and it looks nice. And you know, you go a little further up past the first building, go to the second building where they had the daycare center. John Flaherty just bought that maybe 6-7 months ago. And when you drive by there, take a look at what he's done in the short time that he's owned it. He repaved the lot. He did all re-landscaping. It doesn't look like the building is falling down anymore.
You mean right near the fire station?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
The daycare center.
The
Did you notice it
daycare
was all
center's
done?
always been a traffic nightmare there
It
sometimes.
still is.
Yeah.
It still is.
The mothers bring
Yeah,
the kids
it
to pick
still
them
is,
up
you
all
know,
at the same
because,
time.
you know, people hate traffic, and you know, I get in trouble for saying that. You know, that traffic means prosperity.
Traffic is, I mean, traffic's traffic. There's nothing you can do about it.
Right.
I feel for people who don't want something to happen in the neighborhood, and they say, well, it's going to increase traffic. But I mean, what can you do about traffic?
You know, it's funny thing
Nothing.
about that. You know, being in North Woburn, we have our own set of problems like everybody, and traffic is one of them. But you know, the one thing that's happened, at least over the past 10 years, we've done a lot to alleviate the traffic in North Woburn. Accidentally or whatever, when the Commerce Way overlay went in, that freed up the traffic on School Street and Merrimack. When the bridge goes in, that's going to free up the traffic. Believe it or not,
I know.
a lot of those people right? A lot of those people come down to 128, where instead of coming down to 128, they go down Woburn Street, take the bridge, and avoid North Woburn completely.
That's right.
And that's basically what it's going to come down to. So that I think after the bridge is built and the people start using it, as they start using I use the Commerce Way overlay all the time, and it's faster. It gets me to where I want to go faster than coming through the city, and it's a direct route. I think the new Boston Street Bridge is going to do the same thing, and it's going to keep a lot of the trucks that try to get around to get to the industrial areas. It's phenomenal.
It's unbelievable where you have to go around.
I talked to the truck drivers. I talked to the owners of all the big construction companies that are down on New Boston on the corner. And once that bridge is open, and they can get into Wilmington and get down that way where all their businesses and get back in, that's going to free up all that traffic coming down and thing, or a lot of it anyway. And you see noticeable differences. You know what, I don't like these calls, but I'm starting to get more and more calls about cars speeding on Merrimack Street. The first thing I do is smile, because I can remember when the traffic was backed up from Main Street all the way down, like 30 or 40 cars. But now, now we have to put up the right signs that say 20 miles an hour, 30 miles an hour, and enforce it,
I remember one time, maybe, I don't know, 25 years ago, they took a survey, they had a survey, there were people out there counting the cars on Merrimack Street in the morning.
Oh, yeah.
Unbelievable how many cars go up down that street in the morning.
And how many cars that go down that street in the morning come from Tewksbury and Wilmington.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, all we'll have to do at the end is take an ad out in the paper. Hey, guys, you don't have to come to North Woburn Square anymore to go to the industrial plex.
That's right.
You just take the new Boston Street Bridge.
Yeah.
And it won't take them long to learn it.
No, it won't take them long to learn it. They'll change in a minute.
And what's exciting about the bridge is that if you stand right where the old bridge was and look out over the Commerce Way, and you can see the benefit of having that bridge as a tri-community effort. People coming from Tewksbury and Wilmington. And when I had a chance to meet with Secretary Davey, and he came out to the site, and I had a chance to talk to him, and I just grabbed him away from the crowd, and we were talking about the bridge, and we were talking, and you know what he suggested? And he made this suggestion right at the meeting. It wasn't my meeting, I was just one of the invitees. He said, why don't we do this bridge as one of the modular bridges? I said, great, I'm in favor of that.
I thought that's what I was so disappointed because I had this idea that when they first talked about the bridge and moved it a couple of times and we're going to change the direction a little bit and it makes it better and blah, blah, blah. I thought that it was like a modular bridge, the same as the one that goes over to Target. You know what I mean? I thought those pieces are all been made and they're sitting in some farmer's property up in New Hampshire or Maine.
Right.
So when they get the permit and they get the foundations in, they just go down with a crane, pick them up and drop them on.
That's what he wants to do, exactly what he wants to do.
That's right.
And he's looking at the measurement, he said it would work. All we'd have to do is put the center in, the center foundations in.
Right.
And he says, if you want to go, and if anybody out there wants to really go and look and see what we're talking about, go look at the Commerce Way Overlay Bridge and the way it comes into pieces, and go look at the other 93 bridge. All they'd have to do, and even if it's a curve or even if it's a straight, they bring the pieces in and do it in the weekend. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It is. It's an amazing thing. And that's part of their job, that transportation business. All those guys are thinking about that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. That's good. What about the citywide stuff? How are you doing on all the citywide stuff? Now we got the new I don't know, assisted living got passed. I guess the Alderman of Ward wasn't happy about some of the things he wanted, but I mean, that's all right. I don't have any problem with that.
You know the thing is, there's a lot happening in the city. There's a lot happening in all the wards, and I'm a firm believer, and I've said this right from the beginning. What you should do in deciding factors in anything that happens in the ward should be the ward alderman. I'm not saying that you should agree with the ward alderman all the time, but if everything is equal, then the deciding factor should be what the ward alderman goes, because a ward alderman spends that much more time, at least I'd like to think they do, because I do. I spend a tremendous amount of time before I commit to anything or before I talk to anybody about anything, before I answer your question.
Yeah.
When I answer your question, it's only because I've researched that out to say, okay, I have the answer. If I didn't have the answer, I wouldn't, I wouldn't do it. But as far as citywide projects that I really would like to see happen, I don't like Friday newspapers because nobody reads them, number one. But a couple of weeks ago in Friday's paper was a proposal that was proposed probably, what we figure, about 15, 20 years ago, to revamp downtown Woburn to take away, add 25 parking places or 23, and take away the two-way. I think that's a fantastic idea.
Yeah.
The reason it wasn't done 15 years ago is because a lot of projects were, on the books. Another citywide, and I know this is for Ward 4 and for Ward 3, but it's still a citywide issue, is the Harold Wyman School and where it's going to go.
Well, it's going to go where the farmer's market is. Where it's going to go. I mean, I ask all the aldermen, they say, well, we got to wait till the end of till the architect gets, so we paid this dope, not a dope, I'm sorry I said that, Mr. D. French, what's his name, D. Nisco or something like that, the architect, and him and his daughter. Now, you get $500,000 for coming out to Woburn and doing this study, that's what they have to do because you got to get your ducks in a row. Now they give them a chance. They say, okay, here's the 4 pieces of property, so go out and see what you think. Now, I mean, they could have gave me $25. I would have told them right away what the deal was. Now, I have interviewed Chris Vizzo there from, he's a spokesman for the Wyman Street Association. Very nice young man, and he knows what's going on, but they're just, you can't use the fact that they are convinced that they got the meals tax money passed in order to buy the property and blah, 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 all those things. So they think it was promised because the law got passed and the city had the money to buy the land, and there was promised that the school wouldn't go there. Now, I said, well, the mayor has a fiduciary responsibility to 40,000 people, how many live in the city, not just those people up there in the neighborhood. But I said, if I lived there, I would make sure that if the school goes there and my cellar gets flooded, I'm going to be raising holy blue mackerel, you know what I mean? Because, I mean, this is the reason that all of this problem has arisen in that neighborhood of Wyman Street. And probably if you were some kind of a water engineer, the city engineer is a water guy, but I mean, the aquifer for that whole section is huge. So, Winchester, they're going to do this Galley Dam over. They're going to do a thing down in Medford. They're making the Aberjona River wider. You read this stuff in the paper. I said, well, where do they get all the money to do this? We're trying to get all this water from Wyman Street and Spence Farm down into Horn Pond. We can't do anything. You can't do it. It just costs too much. So whether DEP has to engineer and do the whole thing, I don't know. But that's the only thing I would make sure. If I lived there, I'd say there's not much we're going to be able to do about them building a school here, but the engineers better be taking care of the water.
But the thing is, and I think I heard this on one of your programs, and somebody said this, and it's so true. What happens when a plan comes before the planning board or the city council, that's our focus. Our focus is the plan. Our focus is not, if we're talking about Spence Farm property where the fruit stand is, okay, we're not talking about the Spence Farm property where the Mormon church is.
Nope.
Even though it's probably 2 blocks from there.
Yeah.
But like you said, it's all fed to the same spot. It's all fed to the same spot in the canal. But I agree with you, right? I agree 100% with you on the.
It's just too bad because I mean the city is locked up like that because they can't go out there and say, well, we'll approve your lot over here, but we want you to do something down there. You can't do it. All they can do is take care of the property that they're interested in. And so now you're talking, I forget, somebody told me how many houses are going to go there now. I think it was Mr. Anderson last week. all these houses are gonna be, all these new houses, it's like 50 houses maybe even more than that. You know, and then again, you have to, it costs X amount of dollars to educate the children. These are families now, you know, and the school's gonna be bigger. So you're gonna have to have a bigger school and all that kind of stuff.
Well, you know, you have the new housing going in, okay? But it's going in at a time when the city can bring in new housing. A lot of the condos that were built, the 1 and 2 bedroom condos, don't have kids.
No.
You know, absolutely don't have kids.
They don't want, nobody wants kids. Nobody
Right.
wants them.
And you know, the Cedar Street, for example, there was 100 units that went in there a couple of years ago. I don't think there were 3 kids leaving there to go to school.
No.
I don't expect there'll be, the whole front building of St. Anthony's condos, you know, the 1 and 2 bedrooms, but the people that have bought those don't have families.
No,
They're the
yeah.
people that are downsizing.
That's right.
And, you know, the townhouses in the back, maybe you'll see some of the young people in there, but there'd be very few. So, you know, we need the mix. We need the single families houses to come in. And can the schools do it? You know, that's
It's part of the problem. I mean,
Right,
it's just,
right.
you know, it's not a
Right.
moneymaker, that's for
Right.
sure.
exactly,
You know?
exactly. Look at the units that they're going to build up at Whining Farm. There's 168 units going in there, right? Am I not correct?
Yeah.
And they started building it. They
Yeah.
started the road. You know, what is that going to do to the school up there? The school's already at capacity.
I know.
You know, I talked to
I
Ray
know.
last week. The school is already at
Yeah, it
capacity.
is up to capacity. And now they got another, I think they just got another principal over there and everything, yeah. I mean, it's a very, very complicated thing. One of the things I think that the city, you know, especially I think Woburn, Burlington even more, was the meals tax thing. That's just like, that money fell out of a cloud there, you know, all this money just pops into the general fund.
I know.
You what I mean?
I know you weren't in favor of it from the beginning. So
I wasn't in favor.
Yeah, I
no.
know.
No,
I
I'm not
know.
in favor
I know.
of paying any more for anything. I don't want to pay for anything. But I mean, now you turn around. I remember the first time we had a meeting with Alderman Gaffney. Paul said to him, "How much money's in the restaurant tax?" And he said, $63,000. And he said, "Well, how long is that for the year?" He said, "No, that's for the month." He said, Paul almost fell off the chair, you know.
Yeah.
And now Burlington even does better as far as restaurants are concerned. So
Yeah.
it's a pretty interesting bit of business. But I think the city is in pretty good. I think it's in pretty good shape. Again, I'm in favor of the same as you are with the parking. I'd rather have the garage.
Yes.
But I mean, they could turn around. I think they can make the common more beautiful if they make it, snug it up a little bit more
Yes.
to the city hall. You know, city
Yep.
hall's a good-looking building.
And then and turn those one ways into 2 ways. That would really, I think that's the biggest part of the expansion that I like. You know, I think that would really help everybody. So be less
But when
aggravated.
you'll be interested coming down Wynn Street to go straight across and down and see
Yeah.
how that works. You'll be saying, "Wait a minute, which way do you go here?" But I'm sure there's a lot of people driving big trucks and making deliveries. Are probably saying, "What are these people doing here with this horse and
yeah.
carriage type of thing?"
Yeah.
But I think it's just a resistance to change. That's all it is. It's going to be the same with the fire station. So we talked
Yes.
a little bit about the fire station.
Yes, you know, the fire stations and let's talk about police and fire and safety. I mean, that should be our #1 concern. And I know educating the kids and I know the schools are very important, but our #1 concern should be public safety and just take a proactive approach on just about everything. I know Chief Ferrillo, you know, since he's taken over, and I knew him before he was chief. I worked with him when he was lieutenant, and every time that I've ever met with him, he's taken a proactive approach. I mean, as soon as the day the communications center went in, they were testing it. He called me, he said, "Mike, you got to see this." And and I did, and I went down there before he even had his dedication and everything, just to see it. And you could see the excitement and the proactive. I know the new fire chief. He's feeling his way through, but I would like to support him 100%. I would like to see the fire stations up to a specific standard to say, hey, you know, this is the standard we should be at. I know we started a couple of years ago under the old regime on what we were going to do. We were going to start maintaining all the city buildings. I'd like to see something like that happen now.
Yeah.
But luckily we started up in North Woburn, and we started with the North Woburn Fire Station. That's a beautiful piece of property now. It's the flowers, the station itself, the inside, the repairs that they did on it.
The arguments will be, these are the arguments. Nobody wants the fire station that is near their neighborhood to move.
I know.
They don't want that.
Until they need it.
Yeah, right. They want that firehouse. Yeah.
Right.
Like that Central Square fire station, that should be down a long time ago.
Yes.
But so they get further and further behind, and then all of a sudden it takes this big lump of money to catch up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's the biggest
And that's
problem.
what's going to happen now. And that's what's going to happen now, because over the years, that's exactly what happened. They didn't put any money back in, and it's going to cost some money to. And you know, the mayor's got to come up. He's going to come up with a capital budget. He's going to say, okay, this is what I need. This is what we're going to spend it on. And it's not going to be a Band-Aid approach. It's going to be an approach to, you know.
Jennifer, why don't we watch and see what the weather's going to be for the rest of the week? See if it's going to rain on Wednesday and ruin my golf day. Oh, sure. What is that? I can't see. What's it, Tuesday? Is that? Oh, yeah, Thursday rain? Friday rain? But I hear the weatherman saying, when's August going to come? You know, there hasn't been one day that you get up in the morning at like 7 o'clock and we'll go outside and it's like 80, you know, and humid. Yeah. Those nights you can't sleep and all that stuff. We haven't had one of those. In fact, the other night I'm looking for a blanket, you know. Where'd that sheet go? Give me a blanket. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. All right, that's good. How much time we got left there? About 5 minutes? According to this. Why don't we see what that clip from Wyman Street looks like? Over here, yeah. All right, this is behind the. Let me see now. I want to make no mistakes. Yeah, this is the farmers market. Yeah, the camera's on Wyman Street. That's the building. Yeah, we did a show right there last week. I don't know if there's anything growing there at all. They got a path that they use, people can exercise there. If you go a little bit further, there is a water a puddle. I'm not going to, I'm no engineer, I don't know what it is, but Mr. Rizzo says that he got a map from the olden days that shows the water was there then, and there's a little bit of water there now, so I don't know. I saw the ducks swimming in it. We were there a couple of weeks ago talking to Mr. Gaffney. Now, for anybody that's watching tonight, now they're having a meeting on the school, the site plan committee tonight at the high school here.
6 o'clock.
I'm not sure, what time?
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
Yeah.
Who makes these hours? I don't get this. You know what I mean? 6 o'clock. People work till 4:30. But anyway, make an effort to go down, because I think there's going to be, some disappointment. Now this is the Sea Loft site right here, the Mormon property, and half of it's hot top where there was a parking lot, and half of it's just gravel where the building was, and they took the building down. But you kind of had an idea that people, religious organizations, when they get enough money to buy a piece of property, they're not in the real estate business, so they buy it for a purpose. You know what I mean? So when you try and buy it from there, they're very tight with it, because they don't need the money. So that's the difficulty. They're not about to do anybody any favors either, so that takes care of that.
And I just want to say one thing about
you can talk.
I just want to say one more thing. This is interesting television, but what's going to be more interesting over the next couple of months is there are new cameras in the committee room at City Hall.
Yeah.
And most of our committee meetings are interesting. Most of the work is done during the committee meetings. So really, if you get a chance to watch some of the committee meetings, you're in for some good television, only because you're going to get to see the nuts and bolts behind all of these developments and things that seem to we seem to skirt over at city council meetings when they come before us, and you see there aren't any questions around, because prior to that, a lot of the questions are answered during this committee meeting. So
Right.
if anything, it's going to be very interesting.
Right. And I think we talked about it a long time ago.
Yes.
When Bishop was, we first moved from the school, the elderly complex up to the other school, and we came over here, and he talked about it at that time, putting a committee, and then we got permission from the mayor and Tucker and everybody else, and asked if they had any problems. In fact, I asked aldermen periodically about what they thought about it. But, it's difficult for an elected official to say, yeah, we don't want no cameras in there, because, it defeats the transparency part of it. Because I've been to 1,000 city council meetings before, when you could smoke in there and all kinds of stuff. There was so much smoke you could cough. But all the night, like you said, the nuts and bolts are done on Monday night.
Right.
So now it comes up and it says, Mike Raymond's son is going to get a job as police chief. All in favor? Aye. Next. What's that? What do you mean? What happened?
Exactly.
You don't know what happened. So
That's exactly
I
right.
think it will add a little bit more to the conversation. That's for sure. I think that's great. But I don't know exactly what his plan is. Your boss here, and he's been talking. I know he talked to the mayor.
Well, I read where he wants to do a license commission. He wants to practice on them for one meeting and see how it comes out.
Yeah.
And then he's not going to televise that. Then he's going to move on from there, make a decision
Yeah.
on how he's going to proceed from that.
Yeah.
But one more point I just want to make this is, you look back and you say, okay, you look at the city council as it sits today. This is probably the longest running city council in history. If I have to really, I'm going to check with the clerk tomorrow. But as I was sitting out in the hallway, waiting to come in, I'm thinking, there were 4 of us that are 5-term aldermen.
Yep.
I happen to know that I am the longest running alderman in Ward 6 ever.
Really?
Yep. There hasn't been anybody 5 terms.
Like George Riley and
All the
those
way
guys.
back.
Yeah, really.
What happened, is that they did a history of Woburn in John McElhaney's book, and he listed out all the aldermen and all the different wards and everything.
Yeah.
And so it was up to, whatever date it was. I think the one elected after that was John Ciarello. So I know I went back, and I've been in office more terms than anybody. And so I talked to some of the old timers. I'm old, but I talked to some of the old timers, and they say, Mike, what they used to do is throw them out after every 2 years because they couldn't agree.
Yeah.
Because it's like you said, there's so many neighborhoods, and so it's all neighborhoods.
Yeah,
so you have to
that's exactly
keep
what it
everybody
is.
happy. But
Thanks for coming in,
all
Mike.
right, thank you.
Just
All
a
right,
pleasure.
All right, thank you.
Keep us informed of what's going on.
Went by
Paul,
fast.
if Paul was here, he's had some, problems, medical problems, but he's all right. But if he was here, he always says, Mike Raymond's the best guy. He puts out that newsletter. All the information you want to have is in it.
We do have a new newsletter
If
coming
you
out,
have any questions,
yeah.
call him. You get the answers.
Yes, we do.
I think that's a good compliment from
Thank you.
one alderman, next alderman to another says you do a hell of a job.
Thank you. But we do have a newsletter coming out, a new one, our updated newsletter, probably around October 1st, because I have some things happening in September that I want to be updated and want to include in. But I think our next one, and like I said, we do our neighborhood meetings, which is, we try to do them on Thursday nights, and like this new developments that are coming in, there will be neighborhood meetings prior to the plans being submitted.
All right.
That's all we can
Get
ask.
off your butt after supper and come down and listen to about where they're going to build a new school. It might be an interesting meeting. Next time.